Have you ever felt like you had something important to say, but the words just wouldn't come? You know it matters, but something inside holds you back. Why does your own voice feel so far away when you need it most? This isn't about shyness or lack of confidence. There's something deeper going on. You've had moments where you wanted to speak up. Maybe it was in a meeting, a conversation with a friend, or even with a loved one. You felt the urge to express your true feelings, to say what was really on your mind. But instead, silence. Your throat tightens, your thoughts race, and the words you thought you had seemed to vanish into thin air. This isn't a one-time thing. It happens repeatedly, often in situations where your thoughts are most vulnerable. The truth is, this struggle isn't about forgetting what to say. It's about a deep fear, the fear of how others might react. What if they judge you? What if they reject you for speaking your truth? And what if, by speaking up, you risk losing the connection you have with them? This fear has a subtle way of affecting how you see yourself, too. You start to feel like you're invisible, as if your thoughts don't matter. It becomes a cycle. You stay quiet to keep peace, but the quiet slowly eats away at your sense of self. The longer it goes on, the harder it feels to speak, even when you know it's time. But here's the thing, you're not alone in this. This pattern is rooted in your brain's need for safety, not weakness. You're not broken. What you're experiencing is a survival mechanism, one that your brain has learned over time. In fact, this fear of speaking up isn't something to fix. It's something to understand. This pattern exists for a reason. It's an adaptation, not a flaw. Think of it like this. Imagine you were a child in a house where emotional reactions were unpredictable. If you spoke your mind, you might have been punished, ignored, or rejected. So your brain learned that keeping quiet kept you safe. As an adult, those same circuits still fire when it feels like your words might lead to conflict, rejection, or disconnection. It is not that you're incapable of speaking your mind, it's that your brain has learned to avoid risk in order to preserve your emotional safety. This isn't just emotional. It's neurological. Your brain is wired to prioritize safety, both physical and emotional. When you're about to speak your truth, your amygdala, the brain's danger detector, is triggered. It senses a potential threat to your emotional well-being. This is why, even in non-threatening situations, you might feel your body stiffen or your mind go blank. The amygdala doesn't always differentiate between an actual threat and the fear of a social danger like disapproval. Think of your brain as a GPS system. It has learned that the fastest route to emotional safety is to avoid potentially uncomfortable situations like speaking up. The more you stay silent, the more your brain reinforces that route. It becomes the path of least resistance. Now imagine you're trying to drive a new route. At first, it feels awkward and unfamiliar. The brain isn't comfortable with the new path of speaking your mind. But with practice, you can retrain your brain to take the less familiar, but ultimately healthier, route. To break the cycle, you'll need to retrain your brain step by step. Here is how you can start. What to do? Practice speaking your mind in situations where the stakes are lower. Start with a friend, a coworker, or even a stranger. Express simple preferences like where to go for lunch or what movie to watch. Why it works. These small, low-risk conversations activate the same brain circuits as larger, more intimidating ones, but without triggering the intense emotional fear. Repeated success helps build confidence and rewires your brain's fear response. You're at a cafe with a friend. Instead of defaulting to their choice of drink, you say, "I'd prefer a latte today." It's a small change, but it begins to shift the internal narrative that your voice doesn't matter. What to do? Before you speak, remind yourself why your words matter. Focus on the intention behind them, not the potential outcome. Why it works. This shifts your brain's focus from fear of judgment to the value of your message. When you anchor your voice in your personal values, you reduce the emotional intensity of speaking up. At work, you have an idea for a project. Instead of fearing how others might react, you remind yourself that your perspective is valid and can contribute to the team's success. This perspective shift makes it easier to speak out. What to do? Let go of the idea that your words need to be perfect or that your delivery needs to be flawless. Why it works. When you allow imperfection, you reduce the pressure that triggers fear. This frees your brain to focus on expression rather than on judgment. In a meeting, you voice an opinion without overthinking how you're saying it. You might stumble over your words, but you still expressed yourself. The more you do this, the less the brain associates speaking with fear. What to do? Before a situation where you're tempted to stay silent, visualize yourself speaking up confidently. Imagine how you'd feel if you said exactly what was on your mind. Why it works. Visualization activates the same neural circuits as the actual event, reinforcing the positive outcome and reducing anxiety. You have to ask for something difficult like a raise. Before the conversation, you spend a few minutes imagining yourself articulating your needs calmly. This mental rehearsal makes the real conversation feel less threatening. What to do? After you've spoken your truth, take a moment to reflect on how it felt and what changed. Why it works. Reflection strengthens the new neural pathways you're building. The more you recognize the benefits of speaking up, the more your brain will want to repeat the behavior. After a conversation where you expressed your needs, you feel relieved, even empowered. You realize that speaking your mind actually led to a positive outcome, and this reinforces the behavior. Speaking your mind isn't just about finding the right words. It's about retraining your brain to see speaking as an act of self-expression, not self-risk. When you begin to approach these moments with intention, small steps, reflection, and a shift in perspective, you're teaching your brain to take the path of courage, not avoidance. The next time you're about to speak and feel that hesitation, remember, your voice is not a threat. It's simply your truth finding its way out. And when you let it, you begin to reconnect with yourself in ways you never thought possible. All it takes is one step, one voice to start a new pattern. And that voice? It's always been yours.